business session of the December 7, 2021 meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. All council members are present. Welcome to all of our guests and visitors. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted one 3-minute presentation, regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you are here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary staff at the registration table outside of the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and staff will distribute those to council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item of business is to consider the minutes of the, actually, I say that, we will be considering the minutes of the September 7th meeting at the December 21st meeting, so we will not be doing approving minutes today. And with that, we will move to our first proclamation, which is a proclamation acknowledging the Waco Police Department's recognition status for compliance with the Texas Law Enforcement Agency Best Practices Recognition Program. We have Chief Gene Ellis with the Belton Police Department presenting this recognition to the Waco Police Chief Victorian on behalf of Texas Police Chiefs Association this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and guests. My name is Gene Ellis. I'm the Chief of Police in Belton. I also am a member of the Board of Officers of the Texas Police Chiefs Association, and I'm here tonight representing the Texas Police Chiefs Program Recognition Program. TPCA is an association made up of over 1,500 law enforcement executives throughout the state who are dedicated to improving the delivery of police services. I'm here this evening to present the Waco Police Department a certificate of recognition for achieving compliance with the Texas law enforcement best practices. 16 years ago, TPCA developed an accreditation program for Texas law enforcement with the goal of professional excellence, requiring independent proof of compliance with a set of rigorous standards. There's 170 of these challenging standards for Texas law enforcement. They address a full range of law enforcement operations, things like use of force, protection of citizens' rights, vehicle pursuits, officer training, arrest, search and seizure, patrol, property and evidence, just to name some. This program has become the new gold standard for Texas law enforcement. Many agencies are lined up working diligently to try to achieve this. The program is voluntary. No one forced your agency to participate. Approximately 2 years ago, Chief Victorian and the staff of the Waco Police Department began the process of proving its compliance with these difficult standards. And they had to prove their compliance to well-trained independent assessors. It's not easy to comply. The agency had to complete an audit of all their policies, procedures, training, facilities, and operations. The process culminated in October of this year when trained assessors from other agencies around Texas came to Waco for an on-site inspection of your department. These assessors interviewed staff, they rode with officers, inspected facilities and operations, and made sure that the Waco Police Department complied with all 170 standards. Their report was then sent to the recognition committee made up of 9 police chiefs from across Texas who reviewed the report, and I'm pleased to report to you it was a unanimous vote to award the Waco Police Department recognized status. During this process, Waco PD had to prove that it meets or exceeds all these standards. An interesting fact, there's about 2,400 law enforcement agencies in Texas, and less than 10% of them are currently recognized. That means your police department is among the elite. This evening, we will officially recognize Waco PD as the 183rd recognized agency in the state of Texas. What does this mean to you? Well, the recognition program assures the council and the citizens of Waco that your police department is operating in a manner that reflects the current best practices for law enforcement in Texas. It means your agency is one of the very best in the state. And I think you think about that for a minute. This is not just your police chief telling you that. That means others from across the state came in here and looked under the hood, and they're telling you now you have one of the best police departments in the state. You probably already knew that, but it's been affirmed by independent assessors. This certificate we present this evening is just a symbol of this professional excellence. However, the real value of the program was what they went through, the self-audit that they had to do to prepare for this. The program assists the agency in maintaining the compliance, and annually they'll have to submit reports and an analysis to make sure they stay in compliance. And then in 4 years, we'll be back for an on-site inspection to make sure they're continuing to comply with the standards. Your police department has proven to trained and independent assessors that they are one of the best in our state. You should be very proud of them. And I would ask Chief Victoria to come forward, and I will present her the recognition certificate.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just have a
Please,
second.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Chief Ellis, for coming down and presenting us with this prestigious document. But I just want everybody to know that this was the brainchild a couple of administrations before me with Chief Brent Stroman, and it's been initiated under Chief Hope. I'm looking for him in the crowd now. ACM Chief Hope, and then it was followed through with Chief Gant here as the interim chief, and has culminated to this moment right here. And we also have some of our leadership team that were on the ground making this happen under the leadership of Chief Gant, Chief Lanning, and Chief Norcross. And I just want to recognize them and just say their names out loud. They're not here. Commander Varel George, Commander Pedro Soto, Sergeant Connolly Newman, as well as Ms. Jennifer Husak. So thank you very much. We're absolutely honored, and we're going to keep these standards up. Thank you.
Say this, first of all, Chief Ellis, thank you for coming, and Chief Victorian, and to everyone on your team, congratulations. This is an incredible honor for our community. Ensuring that Waco is a safe city means that we need to have first-in-class standards that our community can trust. And knowing that we have those standards in place now and will have those standards going forward is meaningful to the residents of this town and ensures that Waco will be a safe city that has trust in their police officers because of the high standards that you and your leadership and your team are setting. So thank you. Waco is so thrilled that we're receiving marks that are only 10% of police departments in the state of Texas have achieved. So congratulations to your team. Thanks. That's great news. Our first item tonight is public hearing 2021-861, and I believe Kent George is going to be making this presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This is a public hearing on an ordinance designating a non-contiguous geographic area within the City of Waco Reinvestment Zone Number 4, City of Waco, Texas, for tax increment financing purposes pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, creating a board of directors for such zone containing findings and provisions related to the foregoing subject. The total area within the zone is approximately 17.4 square miles, including property that is publicly owned. A map of the proposed zone is in your agenda packet and was shown to you at the work session. Less than 30% of the property in the proposed zone is currently used for residential purposes, as that term is defined in Code Section 311.006D. The zone meets the criteria and requirements of Code Section 311.005 including the area substantially arrests and impairs the sound growth of the city. The development or redevelopment of the property in the zone will not occur solely through private investment in the reasonably foreseeable future. The city intends to participate in this proposed zone by contributing tax increment to the tax increment fund for the proposed zone from taxes levied and collected by the city at 70% of its tax rate. The zone would last through 2051. This ordinance comes to you on first reading. As required by law, a notice of this public hearing was published in the Waco Tribune-Herald on November 19th, 2021.
Thank you, Kent. Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? We will close the public hearing. Myself and Councilmembers Borderoot and Councilmember Palmer have a conflict of interest, and so we will not be voting on this. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Rodriguez? Fairfield?
Yes.
That motion carries. Sorry. We'll move to the next item to consider, and that is public hearing 2021-862. And the 2021 census disclosed the need for redistricting. That is, the existing council districts in the city of Waco, Texas are substantially unequal in population. I want to thank our leader, professor, and former mayor, Michael Morrison, who worked with the city in this process and briefed the city council at its meeting on December 3rd, 2019, on June 15th, 2021, on September 7th, 2021, and October 5th, 2021. At a special meeting on October 12th, 2021, the city council created a citizen redistricting advisory committee and appointed the members. I want to thank our chair, Jennifer Manning, and 12 other members of the committee for their hard work. The Citizens Redistricting Advisory Committee met on October 21, October 28th, November 11th, and made a recommendation to the City Council at its November 16th, 2021 meeting. I also want to thank Jennifer Ritchie, who served as the staff liaison on this work and did an excellent job, and other members of our city staff, including our city secretary's office, for their hard work as well. So thank you, Jennifer. Before council tonight is an ordinance that modifies the boundaries of the 5 single-member council districts in accordance with the model plan for the purposes of apportioning the population of the city between council districts. This has been a challenging year for redistricting because census was delayed significantly, which really made us rush to get this done. But we didn't rush by sacrificing product, and we're still able to pull in a citizen advisory committee who was able to serve us. So with that, I will ask, are there any questions for staff? If not, then we will open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to echo your kind words to Mayor Morrison and to the Citizen Advisory Committee that I think served us so well as to my fellow council members for us being able to come up with essentially a consensus map here. It's been a pleasure working through this, and I'm sad to say goodbye to the neighbors I've represented in Brookview and the South Waco portion of Kendrick, but that's the nature of growth, and so looking forward to serving those under the new map.
Other comments? Discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes? Aye. Palmer? Borderoot?
Yes.
Rodriguez? Fairfield?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. The next public hearing is 2021-863.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a variance to the Waco subdivision ordinance to delete the requirement for the extension of a sanitary sewer main for the proposed subdivision plat entitled Final Plat of the Bauman Addition, Lot 1, Block 1. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended that the variance be approved based on the following findings and conditions. The finding is that extraordinary hardships or significant practical difficulties may result from strict compliance with the subdivision ordinance regulations, and the effect of the variance will not be detrimental to public safety, health, welfare, or injurious to other properties, and due to specific conditions or topography of the site, involved. Strict enforcement of these regulations would impose an undue hardship on the applicant. We do have two conditions. One, that the property owner must submit on-site sewage facility planning materials and suitability study prepared by a professional engineer or a registered professional sanitarian in accordance with Chapter 28, Section 28-4, facility planning or OSSF rules, and pay $50 review fee payable to City of Waco. And two, further, a subdivision of the lot that increases the number of lots will require the extension of the public sewer main to serve the new subdivision.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
I move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. Borderoot.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And the next item is to consider public hearing 2021-864.
Well, Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plats, final plat and construction plan of the Precision International Edition, lots 11 and 12, block 1, and final plat of the Bowman Edition, lot 1, block 1. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended the subdivision plats and construction plans be approved.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Now we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Borderoot.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. The next item to consider is public hearing 2021-865.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a continuance of a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Burnt Oak Investments LLC for restaurant or retail services, providing goods or services directly to customers in motor vehicle outside of an enclosed structure adjacent to a lot used for residential purposes in C2 zoning district on property described as lots 3 through 6, 7C and B7, 13 and 14, block 7 of the Baylor Edition, known as 1705, 1707, 1717, 1719 South 18th Street and 1720 South 19th Street. By a vote of 8-4, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, the proposed use is compatible with appropriate and orderly development of the area which the area is located. 3, the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception. And 4, that available community facilities and services, including the road system providing access to the proposed use, are adequate for the proposed use. We did provide y'all a new Exhibit B at your places. That's the new revised development plan that includes all the site improvements that we discussed at work session, including the site distance requirements, new fencing and sidewalks along 19th Street, and landscape buffer along the property line.
Are there any questions for staff? I will reopen the public hearing that we continued last meeting, and I have 2 cards. The first I have is Mr. Hicks, who I know he filled out a card, but I don't know if he wanted to speak.
Good afternoon to the City Council. I had spoken to Callie earlier today, and she had sent me an email, and I think that's what Clint is talking about. And I want to thank Ms. Rodriguez and Ms. Bearfield and the rest of the council, because without y'all's help, I don't think we would have came to a resolution that would fit me as a parent and as a grandfather. So thank you, ladies, and thank the rest of y'all. I'm satisfied now because the understanding I have, they're going to make the driveway feed out to the feeder road, and they're also going to put a privacy fence that's going to actually enclose my backyard. So my kids and grandkids are going to be perfectly safe and fine now. Ms. Bearfield and Ms. Rodriguez, I want to thank y'all. I want to thank Callie and Mr. Mike for their hard work trying to satisfy the people in South Waco. I'm sorry I took up y'all's time, but that was a very important matter for me because I have small children. I just want them to be safe. So without that further ado, thank the City Council for hearing me these couple of meetings.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you. I also have Miss, I'm going to say this right, Miss Pay, Callie? Pacey, sorry about that. Apologies.
Hi, all. I'm Callie Pacey, 7411 Buffalo Grass Drive, and I'm here representing the developer. As Mr. Hicks spoke, we did talk earlier on the phone today, and I explained those changes. And then, as he's spoken now, he's very happy with our planned development and the safety of his children and the safety of the community. And we just want to commend you on what you're doing in the city of Waco. Your development and everything is growing. That's a testament to, I mean, you can see your police department was honored tonight. I mean, it couldn't have been a more fitting night. If you have any other questions that we can answer, I'm here, but we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms.
Hicks.
Pacey. Yep. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Okay.
Is there anyone else to speak on this item? If not, we will close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just right quick, I want to single out Mr. Hicks. I mean, I've got so much admiration for you. The way you calmly dealt with this, you represented your neighborhood so well, and you improved the neighborhood. You improved this whole project, and you ought to teach a class at Baylor on conflict resolution, because that was a textbook case on stating calmly what needed to be done. We found a counterparty that was willing to work together. Council, debated, and I just hats off to you. Citizen of the Year award for Mr. Hicks here.
Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Borderoot.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 866.
Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, providing that the code of ordinances of the city of Waco be amended by revising section 28-247 and chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as lots 1 through 10, A11, B11, and 12 through 14, Block B, Man subdivision, known as 1001 Webster Avenue, 406 and 418 South 11th Street, shall be changed from M2 and M3 district classification and become and be designated in the C4 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-0 with 2 abstentions, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request to the change based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is in conformance to the land use component of the comprehensive plan and the Imagine Waco plan for greater downtown. 2, the existing public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in C4 zoning district. 3, the area has been transitioning from industrial uses to commercial mixed uses. And 4, there is C4 zoning in the vicinity of subject property.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
And real quickly, Councilmember Palmer has filed an affidavit of substantial interest on this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Borderoot. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and the next item is public hearing 2021-867.
Honorable Mayor and members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, providing that the code of ordinances of the city of Waco be amended by revising section 28-247 and chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as a 20.126 acres of land in the Thomas J. Chambers Survey, abstract number 7, City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, being a portion of that certain tract of land described in a general warranty deed to Waco Johnson 143 Venture LLC, as recorded in instrument number 2014-018-066, official public records, McLennan County, Texas, located along the north side of the Creek View Drive, south of South New Road, shall be changed from C2 district classification to become and be designated into O2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determine the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is in conformance with the land use plan of the comprehensive plan. 2, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in O2 zoning. 3, the property meets all the area and width requirements for O2 zoning. 4, there is O2 zoning in the vicinity of subject property.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Now I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Please poll the council.
Holmes.
No.
Palmer.
Aye.
Orderud.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And the next item is public hearing 2021-868.
Council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from urban residential to medium-density residential office flex on property described as Lot 5, Block 1 of DR Gurley Tract, known as 3024 South 3rd Street, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 in Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that the property described above shall be changed from R1B to R3B district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding determining the meeting which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended disapproval of the land use designation change based on the following findings. One, the proposing land use could be considered incompatible with the existing low-density residential land use designations adjacent to subject property. And two, the existing infrastructure and street conditions are not adequate to support the densities allowed in medium-density residential office flex. Plan Commission also recommended disapproval of the zone change based on the following findings. One, the proposed zoning is not in keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. Two, the proposed zoning is not compatible with the existing single-family residential neighborhood that surrounds it. Three, there's an adequate supply of underutilized and vacant land currently zoned for multifamily residential uses located in the area to support the appropriate growth and development of the surrounding area. And four, the proposed zoning would allow for increased densities that could have a negative impact on infrastructure that was designed for lower densities.
Are there any questions? Oh, we do have one card on this item, and that is, sorry. Any questions for staff? I apologize. We will open a public hearing for comments, and we do have one card, and that is Belen Ruiz.
Good evening, I'm Belen Ruiz. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm here to speak on behalf of Leopoldo and Maria Fajardo. These are two of my clients. They have been residing at 3024 South 3rd Street since 1996. I don't know if you're aware of them having animals on the premises, and that's actually what kind of triggered them approaching me saying, Belen, we think we need to sell this property. We actually had been approached prior to by developers, but they lost the opportunity. They didn't think it would come down to the point of them being basically in sufferance, I guess you could say. It used to be grandfathered in where they could have their animals, but now at this point, it has caused a lot of problems with sitting. It's been ongoing, so they're uncomfortable where they're living. I will say the home is in conditions where they're not able to afford to fix it at this point. I know that's outside of the scopes of why we're asking to rezone. We're asking to rezone because we're trying to find the highest and best use for the property. I know that the property next door, I believe it's 117 Gurley Lane, it is zoned R3B as well. And there is a PUD that's just catty corner behind this as well. I think it's the Baylor Heights development, if I'm not mistaken. I'm aware of the city's comprehensive plan for 2040. I did look through it. I did see what has been looked at as far as infrastructure, and obviously water is something that's very much a concern for that neighborhood, as I'm aware of. I don't know if anything has changed. That last was amended, I think, in 2013, 2016. So to the best of my knowledge, that area actually is not at the highest priority for having the best water lines, from my understanding. So I can see where infrastructure, aside from streets and water, would be of concern. But I also have seen, to be honest, I sit on the City of Robinson's Planning and Zoning Commission Board. I have seen where developers have actually paid for their own infrastructure to help revitalize the community. Now, the reason why I'm asking for R3B, yes, I understand some people are concerned that it has, multi-housing, but it also allows for duplexes. It allows for zero lot line homes. So it gives an amplitude for a developer to come in and say, you know what, there's so much potential that can be done with this property versus going directly towards one way of it, meaning they have different options on what they can do with it. My goal for my client, obviously, is to try to get the most that I can for them, because reality is there's about 15 horses on that property. There are stables. Again, it had been grandfathered in, but right now I'm also a realtor looking at the market for me to find anything relatively close to what they need. They're looking at a $700,000 property for them to have to purchase. Obviously, I'm sure y'all know market has been very limited, so pricing has gone through the roof. I don't know what's to come springtime, if that's going to continue, if we're going to have foreclosures, whatever the case. All I know is interest rates are going to climb, which could hinder my client, who's actually retired at this point. So it's something that I feel like I'm in a pickle. I understand City of Waco's concerns, but I also understand there's, you know, with growth comes change. So just thought I'd voice that.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Are there any questions for Ms. Ruiz? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? I will close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for disapproval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Borderoud.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And the next public hearing is 2021-869.
Members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, establishing the land use and zoning designations of property located along South Valley Mills Drive to the former Floyd KC Stadium property between Memorial Drive and Willowbrook Street, by providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to establish the land use designation as urban residential on property described as Lot 1, Block 1, Baylor Stadium Edition, and Lots 1, A2, B2, 3 through 5, A6, B6, 7, 8, 9, 12, A13, B13, and C13, Block 2 of the Acres Edition, known as 914 South Valley Mills Drive, 900, 904, 906, and 910 South Valley Mills Drive, 3000 Williams Landing Road, 3220, 3232, 3300, 3306, 3308, 3312, and 3316 Willowbrook Street. Collectively, the group of properties. 2, that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 in Chapter 28 zoning, the said code, and that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property, let me start over there. By revising Section 28-247 in Chapter 28 zoning, the said code, and that the zoning map shall be changed so that the zoning for the group of properties described above shall be established as R1B district classification. 3, that the comprehensive plan be amended to establish the land use designation as mixed-use flex and property described as lots 1 through 4, Block 3 of the Acres Edition, known as 3301 Memorial Drive, 918 South Valley Mills Drive, and 916 through 920 South Valley Mills Drive. And 4, that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 in Chapter 28 zoning, the said code, and the zoning map shall be changed so that zoning for the Group B properties described above shall be established as C2 district classifications, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding determined the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended the urban residential land use designation based on the following findings. The public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed urban residential land use designation. And there is an urban residential land use designation in the vicinity of subject property. Plan Commission also recommended the land use designation change for mixed use flex. Based on the following findings: 1, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed mixed use flex land use designation. And there is mixed-use flex land use in the vicinity of subject property. Plan Commission also recommended approval of the zoning for the of R1B for the Group A properties based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as revised. Properties meet all the size and width requirements for R1B zoning. That the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in R1B zoning, and there is R1B zoning adjacent to the subject properties. Plan Commission also recommended establishing the zoning of C2 on the Group B properties based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is keeping with land use component of the comprehensive plan as revised. 2, the property meets all the size and width requirements for C2 zoning. 3, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in C2 zoning. And 4, the proposed C2 zoning is compatible with the surrounding area and consistent to previous zoning of the properties when located in the city of Beverly Hills.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would move that we establish the properties that are designated as Group A properties as R1B zoning and urban residential land use designation. And for the properties established as Group B properties, I would ask that we establish, or I would move that we establish C2 zoning and land use designation of mixed use flex.
Can I, is that as read by Clint, or is that a change?
As read by Clint.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. I will second that then.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Borderoud. Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. I want to go back to a matter. I had pulled the minutes, the approval of the minutes from the September 7th meeting, but we are able to consider the minutes of the October 12th, October 27th, and November 16th, 2021 city council meetings. These minutes were also included in your packet and don't need to be adjusted. Are there any corrections to those meetings?
No.
If not, then those will stand as approved. We'll now move to our the ordinances section of the agenda, and the first ordinance on the agenda tonight is ordinance 2021-893. I'm sorry, the minutes threw me off. The consent agenda consists of resolutions 2021-870 through 2021-892. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Borderoud. Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and now we'll move to ordinance 2021-893.
It's abandoning North 42nd Street right-of-way between the Trice Avenue and Colcord Avenue, described as 1.701 acre or 74,076 square foot tract of land being situated in the Andrew Robb Survey, abstract number 761 in McLennan County, Texas, being a portion of that North 42nd Street, a 60-foot right-of-way, recorded in volume 835, page 467 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas, providing a severability clause and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on November 16, 2021.
Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Borderoud.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, the motion carries, and the next item on the agenda is ordinance 2021-894.
An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 2021-274, abandoning a portion of right-of-way located at Dutton Avenue between South 4th Street and University Parks Drive, described as a 3.905 acre tract of land in the Thomas J. Chambers grant, abstract number 7 in the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, and being all of the existing Dutton Avenue right-of-way, variable width, located between South 4th Street and University Parks Drive, providing a severability clause and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 4-0 council vote on first reading on November 16, 2021.
I believe council members Borderoud, Palmer have filed an affidavit of substantial interest on this ordinance. Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and the next item on the agenda is to consider ordinance 2021-895.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code. Providing the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as 1.599 acre tract of land in McLennan County, Texas, out of the J.G. Smith survey, being part of Lot 4, Block 1 of the D. Donaldson addition to the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, as per plat thereof recorded under County Clerk's File Number 030783 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, and located along Steinbeck Bend Road, east of China Spring Road, shall be changed from O2 district classification and become and be designated into C2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed to open the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on November 16, 2021.
Is there a motion?
I move for approval on second reading.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Palmer. Borderoot. Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and the next ordinance is ordinance 2021-896.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that a comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from open space to industrial on property described as being a 42.0608 acres, more or less, 1,832,169 square feet tract situated in Buffalo Bayou, Brazos, and Colorado River Railway Company, survey abstract number 1149, and being a part of the tract of land known as tract number 23, described in deed to the state of Texas, recorded in volume 1016, page 109, deed records of McLennan County, Texas, and Walker J. A-575, 0.168 acres, known as 7900 Concord Road, providing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing the zoning map shall be changed so that the property described above shall be changed from R1B district classification and become and be designated M2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and terminating the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on November 16, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Palmer. Borderoot. Rodriguez. Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And the next item on the agenda is the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters for consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and will follow up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is able to be brought to you. The first card I have here tonight is Mr. Steve Cromines.
Thank you. I did have a handout. Do you have that? Okay,
I believe we do. Yes, sir. Mr. Cromines, could you say your name and address for the record? Sorry.
My name is Steve Cromines, and I live at 2903 Lakeshore.
Thank you.
Did you ask to spell it also? No. Okay. And again, my name is Steve Cromines, and I'm the owner and operator of Chromico Incorporated. I've been in the landfill gas business since 1986. In December of 1996, I contracted with the City of Waco for the rights to all of the landfill gas at the Waco City Landfill through the year 2026. From 2003 till 2013, revenues were produced from generation of electricity and gas sales to M&M Mars. From March of 2013 till 2019, no revenue was available from the landfill gas. Natural gas stayed between $2 and $3, and operating expenses steadily rose. It was at this time that the City of Waco decided to buy back the remaining 7 years left on the landfill gas contract. The purchase included the total landfill gas system with all its components and all the rights to sell landfill gas, but with no obligation to do so. Any revenues from the landfill gas until 2026 would be shared between the city and Chromico Incorporated. Jump 2 years later till today. Economic times have changed, natural gas prices have doubled, and the incentives for renewable gas have gone through the roof. Landfill gas developers are begging for landfill gas projects. Possible revenues to the city are in the millions. If you would, take a look at your handout, please. It does give a breakdown. The royalties could bring the city $1.5 to $3 million per year. Operating costs saved by the city would be in the millions. Savings on landfill gas system expansions paid by the developer would also save millions. The projections are based on market value today. The market does fluctuate, which is another reason this opportunity should not be neglected or put off to a later date. I've had many developers contact me who are interested in the possible landfill gas consignment from the city. I'm sure that just as many or more have contacted the city directly. The response from the city employees so far has been that this is just not a good time, or they just do not have time. First, there will never be a better time than the present. The landfill gas is a finite asset being depleted by many thousands of dollars each day. Gas and incentives are at an all-time high. Developers are begging for landfill gas projects. As for not having time...
Mr. Cummings, you've gone over your time, so if you could just wrap up. The 3-minute buzzer went off.
I would just say also that besides the savings and dollars that could be made from it, there are many environmental attributes that could put this city in a position to be completely carbon neutral without spending a penny.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. And as you know, we can't speak on this because it's not posted on the agenda, but we'll have staff reach out and contact you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Next, we have a card from Dr. Alan Northcutt.
Alan Northcutt, and you do have a handout. The UN Climate Summit COP26 was opened in November by UN Secretary General Guterres with this statement, quote, "Enough of brutalizing biodiversity, killing ourselves with carbon, treating nature like a toilet, burning and drilling and mining our way deeper. We are digging our own graves," close quotation marks. And I continue to speak here as a reminder that the City of Waco has a responsibility to combat the climate crisis in line with recommendations from the Sustainability Board. In addition, Waco and McLennan County are currently at very significant risk of climate change impacts. The 2021 FEMA National Risk Index showed that McLennan County is at relatively moderate risk of these natural disasters, and actually the risk is higher than 91% of other U.S. counties. So we have a great risk of these natural disasters here, and your handout breaks those down. In addition to those listed, you have the drought map that shows a reminder that we're often in drought status here right now. The entire county is in D0 drought level at this time. So given these facts, the city should be encouraging citizens to act to mitigate the climate crisis. Unfortunately, I have bad news tonight on this. Cities like Austin are offering a $2,500 rebate for residential rooftop solar, but Waco appears to be slowing down the process. I had 30 solar panels on my house and started a permit process last December to add 20 more. It took 6 months to get that permit. I didn't have those panels functioning until June. An acquaintance of mine, who preferred I not mention his name, has also been working on a permit now for 6 months for rooftop solar with battery. And he says there's an impasse. He can't get the permit accomplished. And he's working with one of the premier installers in the state, and they're stating that they may stop offering batteries in Waco because of the permit problems. So this is just the opposite of what should be happening on this issue. I don't know what the problem is with permitting, but the buck stopped with the council, and I strongly urge the council to take action to give renewable energy permits priority for permitting, correct whatever the problem is, and streamline the process. These long waiting periods need to be eliminated. Rooftop solar is one of the key things citizens can do to lower overall Waco greenhouse gas emissions, and the permitting process is becoming a stumbling block here in Waco. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Northcutt. The last card we have is from Ephraim Herring. Good evening, Mr. Herring.
How you doing? Back again. I told you I was going to send you your documentation showing that the problem I have with 1046 Chestnut, which is still there. And then I ran into a buzzsaw problem with your inspection and record department. In accordance with your according to section 28-88 of your city of ordinance, it states that a person can come and request a copy of the certificate of occupancy. What I'm doing now is I'm going through, and I got a handout here. I'm going through now and trying to verify all the documents that NeighborWorks Waco and Neighborhood Housing sent to me. They sent to my bank to get paid $27,250. And I'm going through and verifying all these documents because I came up with a question. If I'm going to the city and ask them to fix them, maybe the documents are not correct. If you notice on there, the section 28 says, records say the building official should maintain records in which he shall record all permits, certificates issued by him, and all enforcement actions taken by him in the administration of this chapter. But the one thing I jumped on is that careful record of such applications and plans should be kept in the office of the building official. A record of all certificates of occupancy should be kept on file in the office of the building official, and copies should be furnished on request to any person having a proprietary or tenancy interest in the building affected. I started July. August 8th is when NeighborWorks Waco sent my banker that document you have in front of you. I started in August trying to verify that document. Who signed it? All I got back was a blank document not signed. So my question is, I started in 2018, 2019, 2020, and my last one was November of this year. I asked for the exact same document, and I got everything except that document. So I'm trying to verify that the documents I got from NeighborWorks Waco, Neighborhood Science Association are accurate. Because if they're not, then we have a major problem here, outside of what the city done. Ms. Banfield drove by my property back in 2020, and the one thing that she drove by, and two public works officials came out there and an inspector came out. One thing that shocked me was they never looked at the alleyway between 1046 Chestnut and 1056 Chestnut. That alleyway is in violation of your own city ordinance. You're building all these at Garrison right now. You're putting down brand new drive approaches and stuff. But the alleyway at between 1046 Chestnut and 1056 Chestnut is still in violation, and nothing's happened. Thank you for your time. My 3 minutes is up.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. We will now close the hearing of visitors. Before adjourning this meeting, we will recess for executive session once more, as read into the record by the Assistant City Secretary at 7:01 p.m.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council will go into executive session in accordance with the following provisions. 1, real property, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.072. 2, economic development, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.087. And 3, personnel, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.074. Discussion of City Secretary hiring process. We are now in executive session at 7:02 p.m.
The business session at 8:01 p.m. and there being no further business, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:01 p.m. Thanks, everybody.